We have just come in tonight, in the month of Adar, Shinichnas Adar, Marbim Besimcha. We know that the month of Adar and the month of Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, which are coming, in which we are coming into, represent 4 months which are the most appropriate for the Rachmei Hashem, for the Chasdei Hashem, the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have come out of this week battered and bruised, and now we must pick up again. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the opportunity in the month of Adar to pick ourselves up and start again with a new chizuk. Because one should realize that the things which have been happening in this week, chas v'sholem, it was not intended at all in order to break us and depress us. But it has been happenings which are here so that we should have a chizuk. It's up to us to know how to transform tragedies into remedies. It's the way we look at things. It's the way we analyze. And we receive the lesson which HaKadosh Baruch Hu has sent to us. Never it should be a reason for despair. A reason for becoming worse. Chas v'sholem. On the contrary, these happenings are here in order to make us go higher and progress. I just heard this Friday from one of my friends here in town, Jude Breuer, Schlitte, a word from the Beis Yisrael, the Gerer Rebbe, who said, what happened, he asked, to all the Geirim which Avram Avinu had made? We know that Avram Avinu was Megayer Geirim, Sore, Megayer Noshim, and Avram was Megayer Anoshim. What happened to all those Geirim? He asked. And he answered something wonderful, that all those Geirim, once Avram Avinu was nifter, they said, now that the world has lost his manig, its captain, there is no point to go on anymore. We might as well return to our idol worship. Therefore he said, if someone goes down after the departure of a tzaddik, it's instead of doing tshuva, instead of getting chizuk and progressing, then it is a goyish toos. It's the mistake of a goy. One should not make the same mistake. But we know that misas tzaddikim mechaperes, the departure of the tzaddikim is a kapore more than the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. It's a kapore. If it's a kapore, that means it's a forgiving, but we have to do our part. It's not a forgiving, it's not a kapore on its own. The same as Yom Kippur is a kapore only for those who do tshuva. We also, misas tzaddikim is mechaper only if we do tshuva, if we take a lesson from it. I was talking tonight to a young man of town who was very close to the Rosh Yeshiva, and he told me he's completely broken from it, as if he lost a father. So I told him, you who feel the loss so much, because you are so near to him, you can get from this loss a greater boost than I, who did not feel lighter as near to the Rosh Yeshiva as he felt. Because the greater the sense of loss is, so the greater the appreciation is. It's the same as appetite to eat. If someone feels a hunger, then he eats, and he tastes the food is nice. If someone has no appetite, he doesn't feel the hunger, then he has no tam, he has no taste to eat. And the same goes for this subject, for this inyan. I told him we can get from it a gewaltige sense of chizuk, of cheshik. Now that he has left a void, and we feel the void, so we must feel appreciate more what has left us, or what we are missing. And if we feel really the loss, it is impossible to feel a loss without trying to feel it. It's not possible. If we try to forget about it and go on to our business as usual, then it's wrong. But if we feel the loss, don't say, better forget because I feel so depressed about it. It's not the way to look at it. No, think about it. But take it as a positive happening. Take it as the Rabbeinu Shalom has sent us this in order that we should feel the loss and appreciate what kind of goodness there was amongst us, and try to do the same. So, we know that on Purim, there is a mitzvah, levasume bepurye ad lo yoda ben oru romon levorch Mordechai. There is a mitzvah on Purim to drink wine and to become freilich and happy, even to the extent that he doesn't know the difference between Or Haman and Baruch Mordechai. Now, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said that the mitzvah to drink in Purim, it's not like the mitzvah to drink at the night of the Seder, night of Pesach. There is 4 glasses of wine, 4 koises, which we have to drink at the night of Pesach. Purim, said Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, is a mitzvah to drink without a shear, without a measure. Not 1 glass, not 2, not 4, but to drink and to drink and to drink and to drink. When have you got to stop? You should never stop. When do you stop? You only stop when you become a shoite. You become so crazy from wine that you don't even know the difference between Or Haman and Baruch Mordechai. Then you've got a din of a shoite, shikhuso shelot, a same degree of shikhrus, of how do you say shikhrus? Drunkenness, as much as Lot, shikhuso shelot, Lot drank a lot of wine, didn't know what he was doing, and then he's potter from the mitzvah of drinking. That's what Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said. And he did it l'maaseh. Every Purim, he drank and drank until he lost his sense. And I heard from someone who went to see the Stipler on Purim, and they said he's not available after the Suda. And after a while he came back, and he came out, the Stipler came out, and he could still smell the smell of wine. So what does it mean? What does it mean, a mitzvah to drink wine? It's a very strange thing, that. To drink so much wine that's without a shear. It must have a meaning. So there might be a lot of explanations. But one explanation which I just read a medrash in the end of Esther Rabo, Midrash Rabo on Megillas Esther. It's mamash the last bit of Midrash Rabo. Imru le'Eloi ki ma noiro ma'asecha. It's one of the piyutim of Rosh Hashanah starts with Imru le'Elokim. Imru le'Elokim ma noiro ma'asecho. Say to Hashem how awful, full of awe are your deeds. What does it mean? It means ma dechilin inun menagnes sheloch. How full of awe we should be from your deeds. Why? Because we find in history, Neherogim horgim esorgehem, those who were sentenced to death, they kill those who wanted to kill them. Vanitzlovim, and those who were sentenced to be hung, Solvim es solveim, they hung those who wanted to hang them. Amshukoim bayom, those who had to be killed in water. Mishakin is mashkiyeim, they drowned those who wanted to drown them. That is ma noiro ma'asecho. How awful, how terrible are your deeds. That means, noiro ma'asecho means it should bring us fear in our heart. Noiro. Yomim noiroim. And the Medrash explains what must fill our heart with awe. It's the way we find in history, in the Tanakh, in the Megillah Esther. Haman wanted to hang up Mordechai, and Mordechai hung up Haman. The Mitzrayim wanted to kill the Yidden by throwing their boys into the river. They perished in the sea. That's ma noiro ma'asecho. That should bring a fear in our heart. Why? Because we should be careful the way we behave. Chas v'shalom, it can turn back on us. The bad and the good. That should bring us yiras shomayim. As Yisro said, Ato yodaiti ki godel Hashem mikol Elohim, ki badovar asher zodu alehem. Now I know how great is the Rebbeinu Shalom from all the Getchkes. Ki badovar asher zodu alehem. Because in the same way the Mitzrayim wanted to punish the Yidden, they were punished. And Rashi says, I always knew that Hashem was great. Because I already separated myself from idol worship before. But now that I saw Kriyas Yamsuf, I heard about Kriyas Yamsuf, I saw how HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings back on a person the same deeds which he is doing to others, then I recognize that even greater. Ato Yodat, and I recognize more than before. The Megillah Esther should also bring us, that's why this is the last chapter of the Midrash Rabbah on Megillah Esther, should bring us to such a degree of tshuva, which is even more than Yom Kippur, says the Arizal. Yom Kippurim. That's the kind of love which the month of Adar is showing us. That all our happiness, all our future happiness, is in our own hands. Ma noiro ma'asecho. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays back to a person exactly the way he behaves. So there is no limit to the happiness we can reach. It's up to us. We decide. And the Midrash goes on to say, At Moitze, you find, Shemido is toivo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu behashefa. You find all the midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all the qualities of HaKadosh Baruch Hu are behashefa with a great shefa. That means with a great plentiness. Right, plentiness. Bepirui verivui. With pirui and rivui, which means it multiplies. The goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes in and multiplies itself. There is a bracha in it. There is no limit to the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Atoiv beribui. When he sends us something good, it's beribui. It's with a lot of plentiness. Chesed beribui. His chesed is also beribui. Rachamim beribui. his pity is beribui, הצדוקה beribui, his charity is beribui, האמונה beribui, the אמונה is beribui, הפדות beribui, הברוכה beribui, השבח beribui, השלום beribui. And then Midrash explains every little thing. From where do we learn? Hatoy beribui, שנאמר, because it says in the Pasuk, Mo rab tuvcho, asher tzofanto lireicho. How great is the goodness which you have hidden for those who fear you. Beribui olam haba. The goodness which HaKadosh Baruch Hu reserves to the tzaddikim. Mo rab tuvcho, asher tzofanto lireicho. Mo rab tuvcho. How great is your goodness. It's not the few pounds we get in this in this life. Sometimes we have to open a little window in our mind and have a little glimpse in our imagination. What kind of goodness is reserved to us in Olam Haba? And then we become dizzy with happiness because we find it so great. We can't think too much about it, but it doesn't hurt to think a little bit. Olam shekulo toiv, olam shekulo oruch. A world which is completely good, which is eternal. When a person imagines just a little bit of that, a world without any worries, without any daigus, without any charote, without any regrets, without any fear to miss something or to lack something. And eternal. Morav tufcha. The toiv of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is beribui, that means without any limit. The same as He Himself is Ein Sof, without any limit. The same His goodness is without any limit. Achesed beribui. As it says in the Pasuk, V'rav chesed ve'emes. V'rav chesed ve'emes. It's not just a chesed. The chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is rav, is great. O rachamim beribui. Rachamecho rabim Hashem. But where do we see it? We are blind. We don't look. We are not looking. If we would count every chesed, every little thing which HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to us in the way of everyday life, every time we breathe, al kol neshimo neshiro, chayov lehoides lehalel, Chazal say, kol anshomo tehalel ko. Every living soul should praise and sing to the Rabbeinu Shel Olam. And Chazal explain, kol anshimo al kol neshimo neshimo, on every breathing, on every breath. We are worried. We've got a blockage in our mind. What's going to happen to me? This worry, this. There's a worry which puts a chain on our mind, closes it up. It's the Yetzer Hara. And we cannot. We usually do not escape from it. It's like a clump on our mind. And one should realize how much goodness it stops us from perceiving, from seeing in the hashgache, in the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals with us. As the Chovos HaLevavos say, look, we are in Golus, amongst Goyim. They hate us, and we live good. We live better than they. Open up your eyes. Look at the goodness of Hashem Yisborach. Rachamecho rabim Hashem. Your pities are numerous. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says David HaMelech. Atzdoko beribui. Shneimar, v'rav tzdoko. ורב צדוקה. The charity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is beribui. We are poor in Maisim Tovim. What have we got? We are full of sins. What mitzvahs have we got? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu does charity with us. Like a poor man at the door. And we ask in our hand a bit of tzedakah to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Am aseimonu tzedakah. And he gives tzedakah, but how much tzedakah he gives? V'rav tzedakah. A lot of tzedakah. Without any limit. O emuno beribui. As he says in the Pasuk, Rabo emunosecho. Rabo emunosecho. He's trustworthy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can have faith in him. Rabo emunosecho. His faithfulness is great. Apdus beribui. His redemption is also a very much Shneema Yachel Yisrael el Hashem ki mashem hachesed veharbe imoy fedus. Harbe imoy fedus. Abrocha beribui Shneema varikoisi lochem brocha ad beli dai. Varikoisi lochem brocha, I shall pour on you, I shall empty like someone takes a jug, a pail of water. And he empties it in one go. Varikoisi lochem brocha ad belidai. Mai ad belidai? What does it mean ad belidai? Ad sheyivlu sifsosechem lo yimardai. Until your lips shall be tired, shall be worn out, saying enough, enough, enough. How can you imagine such a thing that enough money, enough? It's never enough money. How can you imagine? Until your lips shall be warm from saying enough, enough, enough. It's like someone, you give them a cup of tea, and then a cup of tea, and another cup of tea, and then enough, enough, until they are tired to say enough. Die. Ad beli die. Varikoisi lochem brocha beli dai. Ashevach beribui. The praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is beribui. Hasholem beribui. Peace should be beribui. Rav sholom b'noich. Now, that is already what a person has to react. When we witness the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, His great goodness, His great charity, His great tzedakah, then the shevach, our shevach should be beribui. The way we praise Him should be to the extent that we see in Him so much goodness. In other words, if our brochas, if our praising Hashem is limited, is very little, it is because our perception of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very limited. When we take a glass of water, we have no time to think about the water, about the goodness which it represents. We gulped it down. So the bracha, we gulp it down as well. We gulp down the bracha together with the glass of water. If we realize, Morav Tuvro, how good is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then the praising will also be beribui. The shalom beribui, shalom, peace amongst people. V'rav shalom b'noich. Talmidei Chachamim marbim shalom bo'elam. Shene'emar v'rav shalom b'noich. Not just peace, make peace, shalom bayis. Man and wife want to get a divorce, chas v'shalom. So you try to patch it up, as we say. To patch it up. Not that. The Rav Sholem, they should never come to such a thing. It should be full of peace. The same as HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we perceive, if we realize the great goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Morav Tuvcha, then we also will behave with other people with a lot of prodigality, also with a lot of tolerance, with a lot of goodness. Idoveg b'midoisov. If we feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mingy with us, we'll also behave with minginess with other people. If we feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu is generous with us, we'll be generous with other people. Shalom beribuy. Rav Shalom Benoy. That's the last chapter of Midrash Rabbah on Megillas Esther. Therefore, I thought that the mitzvah to drink beribui, the mitzvah to drink a lot on Purim is a remez. It doesn't forcibly mean that we have to do it literally. I'm personally, I won't be able to, at any rate. I don't know about you. That's already a question of halacha, but the idea is there. The fact that we know we can drink wine as much as we can, and it's a mitzvah, it's already enough. We sit down at the table. Us, we usually never have a bottle of wine. At Chasanas, here in Manchester, I never saw a bottle of wine on the tables. They put the wine glasses, but no wine. And suddenly on Purim, we're going to have a bottle of wine, no kiddush on the table, a bottle of wine, and maybe 2 bottles of wine, and maybe a bit of liqueur, and maybe a bit of vodka. Just to see it on the table, that will remind us of the ribui, how the simche, how we should have in us such an amount of akoras hatoiv, of gratefulness to the Rebbeinu Shloilom, that in order to express that joy, yayin yesamach levav enoish, the wine is a symbol of joy. Chasne with wine, bris milah with wine, kiddush wine. Wine is ein yayin elo teure. Yayin is teure. Yayin shel teure, says the Zohar. That's why you make kiddush on wine. Because the real joy is not the joy of wine. Wine, it's a known, Chazal say, wine makes sad people cry and happy people dance. Wine is only nichnas yayin yososoid. Wine is only a way to bring down the barriers. A person shows himself in these true colors, what the inside in his heart is. Nichnas yayin yotsosoid. The wine comes in, the secret goes out. And that is wine. But wine doesn't make a person joyful. If inside himself is sad, deeply sad, he will cry. I've seen people on Purim crying. On Simchat Torah also. People with problems. And Nebuch, the whole year, they cannot express their sorrow because they are held in. When they drink wine, so the inhibition goes away. It's alcohol, it's a drug. And then they show themselves in their real self. So really, it's not joy wine. It's yayin shel Torah. Torah rejoices the heart of a person. Wine is only a moshel to Torah. It's only to remind you of something else. But it's not wine itself. It's only a remez. It's only a moshel wine. Come to your true self. Realize what you really want in life. What will make you really happy in life. Get out from your toes, from your mistakes, what you've been brainwashed by what you read, by what you heard, by what people told you, what make people happy. We are all engulfed in a world of sheker. All the pictures, all the adverts. You go in a bus, advert. You go in the streets, advert. What? Nice cars, nice holidays, nice clothes, nice this and nice that. Where do you see something about Olam Haba? Something about the real self of a person? What really makes him happy? what he really wants. And what we said in the beginning about transforming a tragedy in a remedy into a remedy. That is also, we can learn it from the Megillah Esther. אחר הדבורים האלה גידל המלך אחשוורוש אס הומון בן עמדוסו הגוגי. And then, it's the first time we mention the name of Haman. Megillah Esther, and they clap, and they clap, and they clap. And you have to hush them. Because they don't want to stop to clap, the kids. It's the first time. After Esther was chosen to be the queen, only after that, Gidal Amelech Hashverosh as Haman ben Amdoso Agogi. Only after that did Haman become prime minister. Full powers. So Chazal say, in the Midrash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mikan sheHaKadosh Baruch Hu makdim refuah lamako. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Rashi brings it on the place. Mikan, from here, we learn one of the places in Tanakh that always, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals with the Klal Yisrael, he always brings the cure before the wound. And the Midrash brings a pasuk to illustrate that, to prove it. But the Midrash says it's only with the Yidden. By the Goyim, it's not like that. By the Umas Ha'olam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu first smites them, and then he cures them. First he smites them, he wounds them, he punishes them, and then he makes the remedy. And also there is a pasuk on that. So the question is, what's the difference, first of all? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Esther queen before he made Haman prime minister, or after he made Haman prime minister? But the miracle would have been the same. We are not speaking now about the miracle itself. We are not putting the miracle in jeopardy. Say the miracle would not have happened. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to make a miracle. He wants to make the Nes of Purim. He can also make the Nes of Purim by making so that Esther should become the queen after Haman was chosen to be prime minister. So what does it mean here that, no, Esther had to be queen before? It doesn't change the course of history, of course. And what is the difference by the Goyim if they've got a miracle like Nineveh or whatever? HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes them, not Nineveh because he never punished them, they did tshuva before. But other Goyim, if they got punished, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought them Yeshua, what difference does it make? The main thing is that they were cured from their wound. And also, why should there be a difference between the Goyim and Yidden? But we know there is a difference between Goyim and Yidden. Amavdil ben Yisrael lo Amim. We just said before. But what does it mean here? What quality is there for the Yidden that the refuah should be koidem lamaka? What's the lesson? So there is another midrash, Megillah Esther. There were two tzaddikim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent them a sign of salvation of Yeshua before he sent to Yeshua. There were two tzaddikim, David and Mordechai. David, when he went to fight against Goliath, and Shaul said to David, "Aren't you afraid of this giant?" So David answered, "Gam esoari v'gam esadoiv hiko avdecho." I even knocked, what do you say? Smote. I even smote the lion and the bear. So, he also be like one of them. Once there was a lion which came to attack the flock of David. He went out and he killed them with his own bare hands. Gam Esoari, and Chazal said it was not one lion, it was 4 lions and 4 bears, if I remember well. 4 lions and 4 bears. Gam, because Gam already includes something else. Es includes something else. Hoari includes also. Make a cheshbon, it makes 4 lions and 4 bears. I have to look again to be precise, but as far as I remember. So that is David said, the Midrash says, David said, why should HaKadosh Baruch Hu send me such a happening that to send me those lions and those bears and make me such an ace that I should be able to destroy them, if not that he's going to send me another one and to boost my koyach, to show me, to give me courage. Oh, you are capable of fighting the giant. That's one tzaddik, David. Mordechai is the second one. Mordechai, when he saw that his wife, his dear Esther, was taken by the guards of the king into the palace, he said, why should such a horrible thing happen to such a tzaddikis, Esther? It must be that there is something in preparation. It's a Yeshua. Because Baruch is preparing a Yeshua for the Klal Yisrael. So you see, those two things are completely different. David, when he killed the lions and the bears, it was something straightforward. I mean, okay, somebody else would have said, I'm a strong man. Oh Hashem, I'm a strong man. That's all. He would fall into pride. I'm a very strong man. And going the street and showing to everybody his strength. That's all. No, David said, if I've got such a power, if I've got such a quality, that means it's to save the Klal Yisrael. It's not for me. It's not to pride myself. I'm surely because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to encourage me. You, David, you've got such a tremendous power. And when it came to Goliath, he wasn't afraid. For that purpose, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent him those lions and those bears. That was clever from David. Very clever. But Mordechai was something totally different. It's a tragedy. Esther is taken by Achashverosh. The Rosh, the Goy, in the palace of the king, is kidnapped. It's a tragedy. He should have been broken, Mordechai. What happened to his wife? And what does he say? No, it's a sign of Yeshua. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent me a sign of Yeshua. How can you say such a thing? A sign of Yeshua? Pshat is, that was more clever than Mordechai's reaction. That to see in a tragedy a cure for the Klal Yisrael. To see in a tragedy the cure for the Klal Yisrael. That's the pshat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makdim refuah lamakor. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us that we should always realize that before the makor, yes, before the makor, as a cure, he sends another makor. Because what Esther became queen was not something to be proud of. Esther became queen. Was mit dem Goy. Is proud. When the Midrash quotes, there were 4 women who were queen in the history of and it quotes, doesn't quote Esther. There's another Midrash to pinpoint it again. But not Esther. Because there was nothing to be proud of that. Esther should become a queen. It was a tragedy, really. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu makdim refuah l'mako. That means, us Yidden, we should realize that even before the Mako, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in mind to cure us, to make us do tshuva. That is the cure. By the Goyim, it's not like that. The Goyim don't have this kind of faith to realize that whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to us is for our good. Kol mai David rachamone letavu de Ovid. Whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is for our good. It's a cure. From the Makkah itself, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes the cure. From the tragedy itself, there is the germ of a great Yeshua here. And we have to make it grow, that germ. We have to realize it's there. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu who did it. And why did he do it? And what does he expect from us? How should we react? Mordechai Yoda es kol asher na'asu. Mordechai knew. He knew what was the reason of Haman's Gzeirah. He knew exactly. He knew the germ. He knew from which germ the illness came. And he knew how to tackle it with tshuva. And that's what Chazal want to tell us. By the Goyim, no. By the Goyim, we saw when there was the First World War, the Second World War. No. Could the Goyim realize that those wars were a preparation for Bias Moshiach? But it is a preparation. They were a preparation for Bias Moshiach. Already in the First World War, the Chofetz Chaim said it. And Kal V'chomer the second. How is it going to happen? Why should it be such a tragedy? How can it be a preparation for Moshiach? Chevle Moshiach. There is no birth without suffering. Especially such a birth of Moshiach. But by the Goyim? No. They know the history of the Second World War. There was an atom bomb there, fallen on Hiroshima. That was the end. And what? And how do you realize that brought forth peace in the world? Not yet. But in stages, as Rav Dessler explains. He calls the bubble as burst. The bubble of power, Sarah Shel Esav, as burst. They increased their power so much to such an extent that they realize themselves they must dismantle it again. How could you have known such a thing? That the nevuah of V'kitesu es charboim, as it says in the Novi, they shall break their swords into blades of plows. How would have one could have foreseen such a thing happening from the Second World War? That's the pshat. By the Goyim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu smites them, and then he brings a cure. One results from the other. But us, the Yidden, we foresee it. We know it before already. Makdim refuah l'mako. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes it precede. He already sends us a queen, Esther, before. Not that it makes any difference. In the miracle, it doesn't make any difference. But it's a limud. It's a teaching. My kinder, my children, here, look how you should behave. You should behave like I do. I'm showing you a lesson. I'm teaching you a lesson. I'm going to make you Esther the queen. She will be the tool of the Yeshua's Israel. She'll be before Haman. You know why? Because I want you to have such an emunah. I want you to realize that whenever something is happening to you, or something is going to happen to you, or something is menacing you, to happen, and you've got a fear in the future, you should know the refuah is already here. When you ask a question, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay that bill? Where am I going to find a cure? When you ask yourself such questions, you should remember, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't send on the Klal Yisrael, bein berabim, bein beyochid, for the Klal Yisrael and a ganze Klal Yisrael, for the whole community of Klal Yisrael, as much as for every individual of the Klal Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't send them a wound unless he has prepared for them already a refuah beforehand. We have to realize that. Once we realize that, we will find a way to find the cure. It's the same as Mordechai found a way. In the tragedy itself, he realized that was a refuah. It was not a tragedy. When the last Mishnah in Soita says, before Mashiach comes, we will have nobody on whom to support ourselves. Ein lonu leishoen ela Eloheinu shebashomayim. That is the cure. Before Mashiach comes, we'll be in that situation. And that's why, before Mashiach comes, such things are happening, so that a person should realize he has nobody on whom to support,